Hello and welcome to another video in our Stop, Drop, and Roll series. Today I'm talking about dropping your rights, which, can be kind of a difficult topic. But I want to start off a little light and ask you a question that maybe you have thought of, especially when you were younger. Do you ever think about dreaming about being the king or a queen? When we think about being a king or a queen, we think about, royalty, and we think about people serving us and people doing things for us. And it's all about us. Kings and queens, they don't have to listen to people. They don't have to consider other people's really choices. Yes, they are giving things to their servants and the people in their kingdom, but it's really all about them. They come first. And that's really not the right attitude to have when it comes to what Jesus is teaching. We don't want to give up what we feel like we deserve, what we feel like is our rights. And there are certain rights that every single person deserves and has. But we live in a very tense time politically, a lot of different things going on right now. And we want our freedoms, our rights to be unquestioned. We want to make sure that we feel like we get what we deserve. And so I want to talk about a few verses that especially what Jesus says in talking about our rights and the things that we feel like we deserve. And in Matthew chapter 16, Jesus says, starting in verse 24, says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?'" So I want to talk about three things from these verses that Jesus lays out, kind of three keys to what it means to drop our rights. And the first one is pretty obvious, obviously, to deny yourself. Now, the word deny that's translated here in the original language was really built from two different words, meaning from and deny. And so basically it means to disable, or you could say to run away from. So really you could say that Christianity is not self-enhancement, self-modification, or even self-suppression. It's about self-abandonment. It's about self-sacrifice. Jesus didn't come into the world saying, "Hey, everybody look at me and what I'm doing, and I need you to give me all the credit. You need to do what I want you to do." No, he came in and was sacrificial. He came in and showed people what it meant to be considerate of other people's desires and needs and wants. Self-abandonment. He went to the cross for everyone so that we wouldn't have to. He denied himself and took up that cross. Now, this can be difficult because we live in a culture of self-confidence, of self-esteem, and of self-discovery, right? We have Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all of these platforms are giving us the tools to put ourselves out there and have the attention drawn toward us, and then have everyone else, give us the attention and feel that need of wanting to be liked, of wanting to be, the center. It's all about us. And, yes, we can use those platforms for good, but really it's all about us. And really a lot of pop psychology and you hear these teachers or these people that are wanting you to figure out who you are by looking inside yourself, to find out your identity, to find out, how you can better yourself. And all in all, those aren't bad things. Jesus says similar things as well, but we don't need to find our identity in ourselves. We don't need to be so self-consumed and think that it's all about us. Again, Jesus teaches that it's about self-sacrifice. It's about considering other people. It's about looking for other people and how we can serve them. And when we become the king and queen of our lives, when we kind of have that mindset, we aren't really thinking clearly, because it's not all about us. And it's hard for us to swallow that, to understand that when we give up this kind of entitlement mindset, that we may be giving up things that we feel like we deserve. But again, Christianity, a vital part of Christianity, is so important here, is that it's not about us. It's not about the self. It's not about our rights. It's not about what we feel like we deserve. It's about being considerate. It's about being loving. It's about doing the things that God has called us to do. Because we are designed to worship God and to serve other people. The greatest commandments, right? To love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. None of those things have to do with, look how good I am. We need to make sure that we are following the way that God has called us to live. He doesn't want us to be constantly thinking about how can people do things for me, or what do I deserve, but we need to be projecting service, projecting compassion, projecting humility. Humility is a huge part of it. So if you want to follow Jesus, if you want to drop your rights, first you need to deny yourself. And then he says, take up your cross. And I'm going to read just a couple of verses from Philippians chapter 2. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, to your own rights, to the things that you deserve or you feel like you deserve, but each of you to the interests of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And it continues on from there, talking about how Jesus, being God, considered equality with God not something that he could really hold on to and to use to his advantage. Jesus, being fully God and fully human, he could have walked around, again, hey, I'm showing up on the scene and it's all about me. You guys need to do things for me. I am the king, and so therefore you need to serve me. You need to do things my way, and you need to bring me everything that I feel like I deserve. That's not the Jesus that we read in the Bible. That's not the way that he wanted to present himself, even though he could have. Even though Jesus could have done that, and rightly so. He deserves all of those things. He deserves us serving him. He deserves all the things that he went without because of who he is and because of him being God and the creator of everything. And it says there, therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name above every name. Jesus is the one that is in control, and he had the attitude of humility. He had the attitude of, it's not about me. I'm going to drop what I feel like I deserve, and I'm going to serve other people. Choosing to follow Jesus means to choose to die. Choosing to follow Jesus means that you choose to drop what you deserve or what you feel you deserve. Taking up your cross means that you are no longer going to be living for yourself. That cross is a death instrument, a painful torture device, and Jesus willingly did that, even though he didn't have to. He deserved better, but he dropped what he felt like was he deserved, and he went with the better choice, and that was self-sacrifice. And we read different things, about weddings and different stuff, and I read a story about how our relationship with Jesus is like a husband and wife, and kind of the wedding metaphor there. And this person described weddings as death ceremonies, and kind of an odd way to describe it, but his point was that the bride and the groom, when they are making their vows to each other, they are saying, it's not about me, right? He kind of phrased it this way. The groom's vows say to the bride, I am now dead to myself and living for you. The bride says the same thing. So when we say we're going to follow Jesus, then we are no longer living for ourselves. We are denying ourselves, taking up our cross. And the third thing is, again, follow him. In Galatians 2:20, Paul writes, I have been crucified with Christ, crucified, referencing the cross there again. It is no longer I who live, dropping his rights, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Following Jesus, again, requires a cross, and it requires denying ourselves in such a real way that we can agree with Paul, and that it is no longer I who live. That we aren't going to walk around saying, well, I feel like I deserve to be treated this way, or to be spoken to this way, or I deserve to, have these things given to me. This, again, sense of entitlement, this sense of it's all about self, it's all about me, but that's not the way that we should be living. That is definitely the opposite of what Jesus was trying to tell us. Our life should no longer be centered on ourselves, but it should be centered on Jesus. So what it means to drop your rights means that you are no longer living the way that you want to live, but you're living the way that Jesus wants you to live. We're living and trying to fulfill the commands that Jesus has laid out for us in the Bible. So we deny ourselves, we take up our cross, and then again, we follow him. And it seems like it's pretty obvious. Obviously, if you want to follow Jesus, you're going to follow Jesus. But to follow Jesus means that you do what he says, to live the way that he laid out for us. You listen to his teaching, you obey it. As James says, you put the words into practice. You live it out. And Jesus told us to be self-sacrificial, to not be so considerate or to be consumed by our own thoughts and what we feel like we deserve, but to be considerate and to be looking how we can serve other people. And I'm guilty of this, and I know you are too, because we are all broken people. But what we need to understand is that we have to reevaluate every single moment, every single day, and think, am I living for myself? Am I so consumed on trying to be the king and queen of my life, rather than being the servant, rather than being more and more like Jesus? And a lot of times we view church as a way of trying to, it's supposed to be the way that we want it. We feel like we deserve church, it should be a certain way because it's the way that we want it, our preferences. But nothing in Christianity is about our preferences or about our rights. It's not about us. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about Jesus. It's about living for him. And so if we want to really drop our rights, we need to deny ourselves. We need to take up our cross, and we need to follow him. I hope that you understand that Jesus wants you to know that he loves you and he wants you to have the best life possible, and he has created that for us. But it means that we have to deny ourselves, to drop our rights, to take up our cross, be self-sacrificial, to be considerate, to be compassionate for those around us, even when they disagree with us, even when we feel like their choices are really not the good choice, or they're hurtful to us in a way that we feel like we deserve a certain way. We need to make sure that we are loving other people even when they're not loving us. And we need to follow Jesus and follow his example of what it means to deny ourselves, to be self-sacrificial, to drop our rights and the things that we feel like we deserve, and to follow him. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.